looking at that sunset with my matcha in my hand and thinking, have I been putting off actually being fully present in my life because I'm actually scared that I'm going to be less productive, that I'm going to have less of what I want, that getting what I want will take more time. And I'm like right here in the moment to also curate what feels like my best fucking life. Welcome back to the Power of Personal Branding and Manifestation podcast. It's me, your host, Malika, as always. And listen, I'm telling you, when I got back from that Costa Rica trip, I was not the same person with the same mindset when I left and when I came back. Because there was a few things that I started to really realize and that were shown to me so up close in my face that it was just impossible not to see them anymore. And so I want to get into that. Go grab your matcha, go on your hot girl walk, plug me in your ear, and let's get on with this conversation, okay? There was a moment when I was in Costa Rica where I was staring at this beautiful sunset. I'm not joking, like that was like the literal most beautiful sunset I've ever seen in my entire life. I had my matcha in my hand that I got from a coffee shop down the street. I was wearing a bikini, and I just remember looking at that sunset with my matcha in my hand and thinking, holy shit, like why can't I feel like this all the fucking time? Because in that moment, I realized I wasn't rushing through time as if I was running out of time. I wasn't trying to optimize something. When I was there, actually feeling so present in that moment, I also wondered, have I been putting off actually being fully present in my life because I'm actually scared that this is going to mean that I'm going to be less productive, that I'm going to have less of what I want, that getting what I want will take more time. No, like that is, no, like like literally I realized that and I was like, hold the fucking phone, hold up. Like, what did we just uncovered? Where am I leading myself in this vision that I'm building? Because I am in it right now. The door open to like all of this stuff that you need to think about. Like, what is actually beneath that fear? Is it that I need to earn feeling present in my days? Or, I think that like this is the thing that I started to realize. And I was like, wait, like, why don't I feel like I can just be that version of me who is in my actual life, who is so fully present, and like know that like I can back that shit up. Like I can fully back that shit up. And then I started to think like, what is the feeling, right? What is the feeling that I want to carry with me? That like I am able to stay grounded in on the daily, right? Not just when I'm there with the beautiful sunset that I'm like living in the moment, but actually all of the time. Like actually, like I know that it's not realistic to feel the same all of the time, but like I started to really wonder like, okay, what is that feeling that I really want to like cultivate and like be grounded in? Even if you are doing different things, like even if you're doing different things, you're still going at it from this like, how can I optimize my time? How can I optimize what I'm doing? How can I, whatever, right? And it feels like so automatic. And what doesn't feel automatic is like stepping out of your regular routine, like existing outside of like your business, right? Like that is the thing that you start feeling like, what is this new territory? Like I've never been here before. And that started to make me think of like, that version of me that like is living out here in Costa Rica. Like what would she be like if I brought her back to my everyday? Or that can be like anything for you that you have really felt like, holy shit, like this is how I meant to like feel and be and all of these things, okay? This is when I asked, okay, like what does this version of like me who has like more presence, who is more present in my life, who like has more awareness of like my presence and my energy, like why don't I fully trust her? I've had a conversation with other business owner, other entrepreneur that like feels the same way as this, which is kind of like this feeling that like not fully trusting the version of you that gets to like be fully present, or that gets to like really enjoy this like best fucking life in Costa Rica. Okay, I had no other choice but to really prioritize and be very intentional with like what I was putting my focus towards. So I was like, I'm doing a hanging bridge, which is basically like you're walking around, you're doing like a lot of hot girl walk, and there's a bunch of animals that you're looking at and everything. After that, it was restaurant. After it was waterfall stop. And after that, you were doing a hike to the volcano. So for example, on that day, I was like, okay, coaching call, then I do that day. Then I still have time to like do something at the end of that day and film content and go to the beach. And it was kind of like this epiphany of how much better you get to feel when you are actually present in what you are doing, and how intentional you are being with, you know, what your values are and what you're actually prioritizing that like actually reflects your values and what matters to you the most. And so if you look, even if you look at your calendar right now, right, like is your calendar a reflection of your values, or is it lying? Right? Like right away you can tell. And then you can tell also just by that, just by looking at like, is your calendar actually reflecting your values or like what you value most? Then you'll see that like some of the stuff that like don't work with or don't align with your values are probably the stuff that are going to backfire on you, right? And so for me, for example, that looks like me trying to fit too much workload, too much stuff into one like week, and then still expecting me to go as hard into my workouts, my hot girl walk, my content, my calls, like all the stuff. I'm trying to pack this whole week with everything, and then I'll still expect myself to like meet myself at this same standard just to like keep score with like, oh look, I'm able to do that, when again like that is kind of like ego. It's kind of like that limiting belief of like, well, if I'm not keeping score, then I'm gonna fall off, which is like, am I though? This is like a muscle, right? This is a muscle that like you are either like strengthening or diluting. And I think that again, like it's really that concept of like, oh, if I am actually fully present, then I'm gonna fall off track. I'm going to X, Y, and Z, when that is not actually the case, which is kind of like, why is it that like, what is making it so that it's blocking this way that like you don't think that you can fully trust that version of you who is fully present? That in itself is actually how you start to design your daily days, okay? To actually feel so alive and excited and activated in your life, okay? And that is the feeling that I was like, I know that I want to bring that more into my life. Because I'm telling you, like when I got back from that trip I went there, it was December, I came back, it was January, okay? And I was like, I'm a whole ass new bitch. Like I have such a new fucking perspective on everything. Start building it backwards, right? And so it's like, okay, like what is this feeling that I want to feel? Or like, how is this, like, how do I want to feel at the end of my day? And then like build backwards from it. And I think like a big part of that has to do with the standards that, or the things that like you're kind of like afraid to set in place because you think that like you can't afford to, or you can't do that, or if you don't do that, or if you do that, you're not going to be as successful, right? And then how can you afford to do that and still hit all of your goals and more, right? I think that is the right question to be asking. Like, what are those things that like you think you can't afford, but like how can you afford them and still hit your goals, right? And so a big thing for me was if I knew that, for example, I wanted to travel more, I wanted to do more trips and whatnot, then that meant that I needed my time to be more valuable. And so how did I make my time more valuable? With my personal brand, right? And so, for example, like it's always like looking at these things of like, how can you make it so that you can afford it? Or another one, like, how can I make it so that I can afford to be more present in my life, to be less stressed? It's actually trusting into the work that I'm actually doing, and then trusting that in doing the shit that makes me feel alive, that like makes me feel so fucking good, that it doesn't have to always be serious and fucking boring, that this inevitably gets me more of what I want, right? And so it's always kind of like not looking at it just from this outcome focus perspective, but the reality focus perspective. This is what I personally call it, okay? And I want to kind of dive a little bit more into that, which is like the outcome focus is like you're only focused on the circumstances that you've been told that you can have this outcome, versus reality focus is looking at like, what's the reality that you are curating with what you're doing, like, and how you're feeling, right? And so because the reality is like, it's not like the milestone lasts like 5 seconds, okay? The reality is what actually lasts the whole way. It's like, that's the like process, it's the journey that you're on, right? And so when you get to focus on the journey, you're more aware of like the reality that you are creating within that journey. For me, for example, I know that I don't want just my amount of productivity to be tied to my value, right? I know that I want my value to be exponential, to be literally like something that like compounds over time, not that's measured by like an amount of time that I'm pouring in. The circumstances that you set are always going to be the circumstances that pour in. And this is the biggest takeaway that I've had from doing a trip that was 3 weeks long, which I've had time to create content, coach clients on call, do like crazy fucking fun shit, see a bunch of like animals and koalas, and like go back to the Airbnb and like hang in the pool, and you know, hang out with the dog of the gardener. I'm gonna actually post a vlog like on my YouTube channel yet, but I will, and it's pretty awesome. But all of this, okay, you do get to have all of this and more, and you don't have to pick between staying on top of shit all the time and like, if not, you're falling off, because that is not actually so black and white. Like, it's not always so black and white. And actually sometimes the very thing that you are not doing sometimes can be the very thing that like actually brings you more energy, that makes you feel like you actually want to do more for the life that you're living, for the life that you're building, for the days that you're curating, for how you're feeling every fucking day. Because it's such a different thing to be building what you're building when you feel so fucking amazing and excited. Now, I hope that you loved this episode, the way I brought you a little bit more alongside some of my realization and like a little bit of behind the scenes of my trip from Costa Rica. And so I hope you absolutely loved it. If you did, and that you know someone that you know she needs to hear this, then send it to her and tell her you were thinking about her. And then I will see you next week on the podcast. Bye. Stay amazing. Thanks so much for tuning in, and don't forget to leave your 5-star rate and review on the podcast. I love to know what you guys think of the episodes, and I will meet you here next week.